Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host, Red. I got a video today from Alexander Grace.
I know that a world full of women would be great because I'm in the TJ Maxx parking lot and some girl just hit my car. And I look over because I feel it. And she's like looking at me. She gets out. And I'm just like, you're good. You're a good girl. I go, it's a piece of shit. I'm not going to ruin your shopping spree over it. Like, I don't even think there's a dent. I didn't get out to look. Okay.
Oh, hell no. That is not how men handle shit like that. I mean, if it was just like a little fender bender, maybe a little scrape, maybe slight scrape, maybe, but hell fucking no.
She finds a really good deal today.
I'm not gonna ruin her shopping trip.
What?
Don't you see how civilized the world would be if there was just women?
Yeah, there's just no consequences for anything.
Except that the data shows that for people who do experience intense road rage, 34% of the time, it's young women, precisely her demographic. But today, the shopping trip wasn't ruined, but let me show you a completely different scenario. What if, instead of a casual shopping trip vibe where it's all about the bargains, you encounter a woman like this, like gets in your face and starts screaming at you and challenging you to a fight, like get out? Well, in that instance, it's a good thing that a man is there. You know, that this isn't just a world of women, because the man can step out and absorb all of that aggression. You know, if a woman like this is trying to start stuff, like she gets physical, it's a good thing that there's a man there to actually take care of business, to make sure that you are safe. Oh, I'm going to show you how this scene finishes at the end of the video. These two clips demonstrate where the strengths of men and women diverge, because in like a little interpersonal drama, like a small bump of your cars during a shopping trip, that's really low stakes. That's good for women to be able to sort out. That's an exercise of soft power. But the moment that shit gets real, women need men to step in. That's always the case. That's the bottom line. And you realize that soft power only functions because it has hard power to back it up. So ultimately, it still all rests on men to do the hard stuff, to meet the challenge of danger. This is how it's always been. Back from caveman days, the serious problems that required violence to solve them, that was the domain of men. That's hard power. And since women couldn't compete in that domain, they got what was left over, the soft power. They would handle all the low stakes conflict until it escalated to the point when a man needed to step in. And of course, our biological and our cultural evolution reinforced these roles. We came up with these stories, these cultural narratives to kind of make it seem as though this was some kind of preordained divine order. But that was just a story. This was never about morality. This was calculated. This was just practical. It just was about who was strong enough to actually dole out the violence. But when you listen to women like this, you realize that they've completely bought into the story. It's like they've gone mad with soft power and they have anointed themselves as though they are morally superior.
I think women are better than men.
I think women are better than men.
Women are better in every way.
These women, they have set themselves up as though they are the moral authority of our society. And my
just because they don't use violence the same way men do. Isn't that funny?
question is, how? How have they achieved that? Was this an appointment by merit? Did we vote on this? How did they manage to do it? Because yes, women were seen as the authorities when it came to soft power, but how did that come to dominate the entire cultural landscape? Well, the answer is actually clear. It's because men's capacity to exercise hard power was taken from them in two distinct areas. Okay, so we've established that women have anointed themselves as our moral superiors, the ones who should have moral authority in our society. But let's be absolutely clear, there was no grand victory that was achieved. Women simply won by default because women's domain of soft power is now the only kind of power that our culture is comfortable with. Men's power, hard power, has been stripped from them. This has happened in two ways. The first is because the government has now monopolized violence, and in so doing has usurped male authority.
That makes sense. That makes sense at a societal level, that the government takes over the violent authority figure.
Get my ass! I am tired of you! I am not going anywhere.
Let me tell you something. My kids are asleep. Get your ass back upstairs, lady.
I am so fucking tired of you.
Get upstairs. Go home. Honey. Go home. You need to get her. I'm gonna call the cops.
I mean, isn't that such a pathetic, weak threat? I'm gonna call the cops. But that's the limit of the threat that he's able to.
Damn. Man, after listening to Alex say that and then that actual thing right there, that actual clip, he's so right. What can we do? We can't even defend ourselves in certain ways using our own power now.
Do. Even when she's screaming in his face and spoiling for a confrontation, what can you do as a man except say, I'm going to call the cops? You can't use violence to defend yourself. You can't even threaten it. We consider that completely unacceptable now. Absolutely not. That's like vigilantism. That's toxic masculinity. No. Yep. We are civilized people and we have outsourced violence only to the state. There's no way that women used to behave this way to men back in the day. It wasn't safe to do so. We had to treat each other with dignity and respect because violence existed as an ever-present threat. Do you understand how completely unnatural this is to tie men's hands behind their back? And I'm not making a value judgment whether it's a good thing or not. I'm just saying it's never happened before. Never have men been so impotent in their capacity to defend themselves and to exercise their power. And you better believe that knowing that men are restricted in this way has brought out some of the worst instincts in women.
Baby, I put on this fucking bar. I was 12 and 10 and down. Stop fucking paying for me. You want to cheat on me? I pay for this car, you stupid bitch, huh? You stupid bitch. Keep fucking playing with me.
You know, this clip, it actually captures the culture perfectly because look at the viciousness, the violence, the hatred in her face, just the unrestrained tantrum she's having, and look at the restraint that he has to show. Look at his face. He's like, gotta sit here, gotta take it, can't do anything. Got to tolerate this. And that's the other reason. It's not just about the government. At a cultural level, we are not comfortable resorting to violence to solve our problems anymore. That seems like barbaric and unevolved. We're a more enlightened society. We have decided that violence is not the answer, unless it's enacted by the government. And you zoom out and see the larger pattern here. In the same time that male power has decreased in our personal lives, women became full participants in our political system. The government has expanded and the state has a monopoly on violence. I mean, you really have to admire the ingenuity here. It's genius. Make men give up all of their hard power, make them surrender it towards the government, and then, as women, take control of that government. Then you're in control of the soft power and the hard power. Do you see that these developments were not some principled stand against violence? Women can love violence. They love government laws backed by violence. They just want that violence to serve them.
I just don't think it is that radical to propose that one day a week men should get a curfew so that women can go on walks at nighttime or runs or just like be outside.
Look, you don't need to have a conspiracy mindset to simply observe that human psychology always acts in its own self-interest. Power moves to protect itself. Why would the demographic of women be any different? Legislation is violence. And women have no problem directing that violence to serve their own needs. Look at Title IX. Look at affirmative action. Look at the draft. Look at family courts. In France, it's illegal for a man to get a paternity test. All of these tax dollars backed by the violence of police and the court system directed towards advancing women's interests. Women are not above violence. Feminism has violence at its absolute core. Women were not content with only soft power. They looked on at the hard power that was exercised by men with envy, but they finally figured out a way to take the reins. This isn't a conspiracy, it's a pattern, and it's pretty obvious where it's leading.
Girls should be getting a paycheck every single month from the government for simply just existing. Why? Because we have way more essential things that we have to buy, and I don't think it's fair that we have to buy those with our own money. Also, we like to shop way more than men do, so it's only fair that we get a paycheck every month.
Serious question. If you took a poll of modern women and you put this proposal to them, like, hey,
it would probably pass.
Would you like free stuff from the government just because you are a woman. Do you seriously think that the majority of the women in the current cultural zeitgeist that we're in would make a principled stand against that?
Nope. 100% pass.
Or would they be like, yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. I'm a woman, I'm a victim, make the men pay for my things. Do not tell me that women are above violence, that they're morally superior. Women do not deserve the reputation they have. I know that we've grown up in this culture where mum makes all of the decisions. She's kind of like the ethical compass of the family. Dad should just provide the money, but stay out of it. And then we give our sons over to feminine education systems run by female teachers where they teach feminine values. And we did this because we swallowed this myth. We believed that women were morally superior in some way. But it's bullshit. It's just a leftover narrative from our caveman days where women were the authority when it came to soft power. But that is just because they weren't strong enough to compete in the hard power domain with men. They were granted that power because it was what was left over. Men didn't want to get involved in the tiny, nitty-gritty details of interpersonal conflict. Their mind was on bigger, more high-stakes things. And that actually brings us back to this situation here. Remember this altercation? What happened next? Okay, she's lying there, she's hurt, and you might think, oh, someone's going to come along and show her some sympathy. And this guy in the white car, he turns up and you're thinking, oh, is he going to show some compassion? Is he going to be concerned? No. He actually gets out and starts berating her. He obviously saw everything that happened, saw that she was the aggressor, and he tells her off. He puts her in her place, says, hey, don't be getting out of your car, and aggressively accosting people, starting violent altercations. This is such a good demonstration of what I'm talking about, because while women had the domain of soft power and men the domain of hard power, they existed to balance each other out. Right. They were intertwined and they actually held each other accountable. One of the reasons why women's soft power is out of control in modern society is because it has no limits. Historically, men and women have held each other in check, but men are no longer permitted to exercise any of their power. And to be clear, hard limits without power is also obviously a bad thing. Men were meant to be accountable to women and women were meant to be accountable to men. That's how it works. That's where the balance is, and we've lost that. This is what I want to talk about for the rest of the video, how this power balance works and how to get back to something that resembles some semblance of sanity.
The soft power, hard power dynamic, I've never really thought about it, but it makes sense, right? We always say women are a community. They go to each other, they talk to each other, they solve problems amongst each other, and men do what men do. We're built different. That's just how it is, right? And it's just sad that our society have given women so much power that they rule over men, and men's hands are so tied. He's so right when we say oh yeah, we can't even defend ourselves or stop women from yelling at us or doing bad things to us because the government holds the power when it comes to violence, and we are accountable for our violence. Please subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate it. And catch you guys next time. Ciao.